Yes, I'm doing one of those I review every blank videos. I've actually been going back and forth on whether I want to do this for the last couple months, and I'm actually starting this in January. If you're watching this, then the video got made, but I'm still not entirely sure if this video is gonna go through. Anyway, I decided to watch every highest grossing film of the last 50 years. Why 50 years? Well, I don't want to go back to the beginning of cinema in the 1920s, and since 1975 was the first year that gave us a movie that made over $100 million and pretty much created the blockbuster, it seems fitting. Also, my source is Box Office Mojo, which only goes back to 1977, though I'm pretty confident on the highest grossing film of 1975 and mostly sure on 76. Also, we're going by worldwide grosses, which is where you're gonna get a few surprises. I'm looking at you, 1985. And there are a few years like 1988 and 1995 where I get mixed results on what the highest grossing movie of the year is, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Like I said, I'm starting this the very first weekend of the year. Joe Biden's still president right now. And I don't know if I'll finish this in May or October, but hopefully you'll see some weight loss progress.
Jaws. See it before you go swimming.
Jaws in its own way is a perfect movie. It has reached the nirvana. It could not be a better version of shark attack movie. I have read the book, though it was a long time ago, and I would consider it in the category of movies that absolutely demolish the book they're based on. Along with movies like Catching Fire and Forrest Gump. It is so much better because the book goes into so much bullshit that doesn't need to be there, like an affair between Hooper and Mrs. Brody, and a stupid mafia subplot with the mayor. Like, everyone gives the mayor in this movie shit, and rightfully so. Fucking injured some swimmers. Fuck you, dickhead. But I can believe that he just wants to keep the beaches open because that's how this island makes money. I could totally buy that. I wouldn't really consider this an action movie or a monster movie or even really a horror or thriller movie. I consider this a suspense movie. And the fact that you don't see the shark through the majority of the film is why it works so well. Not only because when you do see it, it looks fake as hell, but just its presence creates this feeling of fear. I have seen this movie several times, but every single time those barrels come up, I actually gasp. And I still jump when they see that corpse in the boat. I cannot get over how well directed this movie is. When you watch it, there are so many one takes, but you don't notice them. Like when Brody is talking on that ferry with the mayor, it's all done in one take and it goes on for like a minute and a half, but so much stuff is happening that it feels like it has to have cuts, but it's all in one take. One thing I didn't notice until watching it this time, this movie is really funny. Not like ironically, like genuinely funny. One part that really made me laugh out loud is when Brody's son is in the hospital and his mom is talking and she's like, "What do you want me to bring you?" "My card's a card." "Do you want me to get you some ice cream?" "Coffee." "Coffee, okay." I don't know, that just made me laugh. Those kids were surprisingly good actors. I don't see that get brought up much. Everyone talks about the adult actors, but the kids were pretty good. If I do have something to say about the acting, a lot of the extras are really hokey, especially during the fake shark attack. Yeah, good read there, honey. Of course everyone brings up the score by John Williams, which is fantastic, but I began to wonder, would this movie be scary without that score? And I think it still would. Not only because the other Jaws movies have the score and they're considered not as scary, but it is just that well directed that even if this movie had no music, it'd still be really scary. I love the pure loathing between Hooper and Quint. It's like watching a MAGA guy and a Massachusetts liberal try to work together. And it's such a summer movie. I know it seems like, yeah, of course it's a summer movie, but I'm watching this in January and it made me just feel like it's summer out. So yeah, Jaws is the perfect shark movie. It's not one I would say is a 10 out of 10 for me personally, but in terms of shark attack films, you can't really get any better than this. So I actually didn't see this movie until I was almost 30 years old. In fact, this was the last film I watched in my 20s. I remember because I watched Rocky 2 the first day I turned 30. I've been hearing for years how great it was, and I was actually surprised how much I liked it, because I'm normally not a sports movie guy, but I really wouldn't consider this a sports movie. It's more a romantic drama. In fact, I was surprised how little of the actual fight was in this. It's only in the last 10 minutes. Apollo doesn't even challenge Rocky until about halfway through. This really is more of a romantic drama between Rocky and Adrian. And they are legitimately cute together. It's some of its views on gender a little outdated, but besides that, it's just really sweet. This is a very talky movie, and there's not really a lot of music. Outside of the montage and the ending, there's really not any music to it. And I appreciate that there's not really a bad guy. Apollo is not a bad dude. He's a little cocky, but that's about it. I'm not sure if this counts as a spoiler. The movie's almost 50 years old, but yeah, Rocky technically does lose the fight, but he wins in the end because, again, that's not really what the movie's about. It's about him and Adrian. Personally, I do kind of prefer Rocky 2. I found that one more entertaining. I do really enjoy this movie, but it's not one I would say is one of my absolute favorites. But I can see why it is for a lot of people.
Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this summer.
Good God, what the hell do I say about Star Wars? It's like reviewing the Bible. People certainly take it as seriously as the Bible. I remember my dad got the original VHS trilogy special editions for Christmas, and that was probably my intro to these movies. I can't tell you when I first saw them. I can't tell you what my reaction was to them. To me, they were just kind of always there. So while I was watching it, I'm just trying to picture myself. Let's say I'm 5, 6, 7 years old and watching it for the first time today. Would I love it as much? And I thought, well, it is really well paced. It has some great comedy. I forgot how funny this movie is. I love how much of a dick C-3PO is to R2-D2. He is just such an ass to him.
Help! I think I'm melting. This is all your fault.
It has great music. The special effects still look amazing, but if we're trying to look at it through a modern lens, it is a very generic story. It's the hero's journey. The characters are pretty much archetypes. They're nothing to write home about. Some of the editing in the beginning is a bit sloppy. I forgot how many fades are in it. And while I think majority of the movie is not dated, a few of the hairstyles definitely look like they're from the 70s. But here's how I know why this movie is good. I've seen it well over a dozen times, probably over 20, and I was still getting goosebumps. When they're in the trash compactor, I legitimately got nervous, and I know they make it out. I know they do, but I'm still on the edge of my seat. The end battle, I know they win, and yet my heart was still racing. So yeah, I do think even if I were a little kid today, I would still like it. It's not boring. It's really well paced. And there is just one thing that I noticed that I don't know if it was intentional. It probably wasn't, but I think it really does work. Right before Luke and all of them go in to blow up the Death Star, you see him with his friend Biggs, and he's really into it. He's really excited to get there, and he's oh, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be like old times. And as it's happening and all of them are being blown to smithereens, you see his facial expressions change as he realizes this isn't fun. This is life and death. And it kind of reminds me of all those manosphere idiots who really want a war. They just love the idea of going to war, but if they actually were there, they'd be fucking terrified. Again, I don't know if that was the point, but it just feels like it. Star Wars is fantastic. It obviously launched a huge franchise filled with sequels and spin-offs and TV shows and books and video games, all that, but it's just such a humble, likable movie. I do think some of the fans take the franchise too seriously. In the end, this is just a science fantasy adventure. But it's a good one. And I hope you like Star Wars because of the 9 films in the Skywalker saga, 6 of them were the biggest films of the year.
John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John together for the first time in Greece.
Alright, so this is one of the few movies that I had never seen before, although unlike most of the other ones, I have seen parts of it. I knew I'd seen like everything from like the last 20 minutes before. So my general first impressions, it's fine. I mean, everything people say is true. These actors are way too old to be playing high school students. Most of them look like they're pushing 30, and the ones who don't look like they're pushing 40. Most of the male characters are very rapey, and it ends with Sandy being the one who has to change and not Danny. I guess you could say he learned to be more vulnerable and emotional, but she still had to change how she looked and acted just to get with him. And it's like, no, he was a jerk. He nearly raped her, we'll be generous there. But you know what, I'm just gonna ignore all that. I'm gonna put myself in the brain of someone in 1978, goes to see this movie to get an escape, and is that, it's fine. Though honestly, of all the songs, there's only 3 that I really like. The first one, Summer Lovin', and the last 2. The rest are just okay. I think of all the characters, Frenchie was my favorite because I just felt so bad for her. Also, I liked that actress. Blanking out her name. She was Stacy in Shining Time Station, and she just has this most adorable voice.
I had a little trouble in tinting class. In fact, I had a little trouble in all my classes.
I just felt bad for her. You know, she's trying to go to beauty school and she sucks at it. She can't really do much. She thinks she's stupid. So that character I liked a lot. This movie is about 2 people who really want to bang, but their friends keep cock-blocking them. Also, Danny has this whole montage where he's trying different sports and he sucks at it because he keeps assaulting people. And all I was thinking is, why not boxing? Now, I don't know what sports were available in the 50s, and that's all I got. Grease is fine. I doubt I'll watch it again, but I could see why people in 1978 went crazy for it.
You look great!
Kramer versus Kramer.
Okay, so this is the first of, I believe, 5 movies that I have not seen at all. In fact, I didn't even know what this movie was about, because I thought it was going to be basically a marriage story, but from the 70s, and not really. At least not until the last half hour. With that said, this movie was really, really good. I was actually kind of engrossed by this movie. I did not think I would love it as much as I did. I really got into watching Ted and Billy, grow and get closer. And I'll admit, for the first half, maybe in 3/4, I was like, God, fuck Meryl Streep's character. She's just, I'm sorry, there is a difference between divorcing and just straight up abandoning your kid. I'd feel the same way if it was the father, but there is nuance to it. We learn that Ted, well, not abusive, he wasn't a bad husband, he did not take her emotional needs into account. And you get why. At the time, that wasn't really something people worried about. I still think abandoning your child is not the best way to go through with that, but I can see why she thought that. She was clearly going through some mental issues, and at the same time, you could see that they both clearly loved the kid. I felt so bad for the child, and the kid playing him is so good. And when he fell off the jungle gym, I actually gasped. If a movie can make me gasp, it must be doing something right. But yeah, this was a really, really good movie. I was totally into it. If I remember right, this did win Best Picture that year. So I guess this is the second of, I believe, 5 Best Picture winners that became the highest grossing films of the year. And at least it was an Amityville Horror.
The Empire Strikes Back. Returning to your galaxy, November 19th.
Empire Strikes Back is awesome. Next.
The adventure continues in Superman 2.
Okay, so this is our first in the list of movies that I'm not entirely sure are the actual highest grossing movies of the year, because I've seen several sources that said it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, but Box Office Mojo says this, so that's what we're doing. The original Superman movie from 1978 is a pretty good movie. It has some dated effects, it's pretty cheesy, and has one of the dumbest endings of all time, but I'd still say it's the best Superman movie ever made. Granted, I'm filming this in February, so the James Gunn movie has not been released yet. Superman 2 is pretty good. It has a lot of the same strengths of the first movie. It has some ambitious effects, even if not all of them have held up well, some really good production design, and absolutely pitch perfect casting. Christopher Reeve is so damn good in this movie. Rewatching both of these, I will no longer hear any complaints about, oh, how does no one recognize that Clark Kent is Superman just because he puts on some glasses? He doesn't just put on glasses. Clark Kent and Superman are played super different. Whenever he's Clark, he's not only like much more meek and hunched over, his voice gets a lot more high, it's a lot more wimpy, for lack of a better word. Whereas when he's Superman, it gets more masculine. He stands up straight. And Margot Kidder as Lois Lane is also really good. And this character is smart to a fault. The scene where she confirms that Clark Kent is Superman, she shoots him, and Superman reveals himself, and he's like, you know, if you were wrong, Clark Kent would be dead. With blanks. Although she is putting a pretty big gamble at the beginning when she just jumps out a window. By the way, I watched the Richard Donner cut because that's the one I have on DVD. I know there's some big differences. Like, I'm pretty sure in the theatrical cut, she also, like, jumps off Niagara Falls. That fucking dumb shit little kid. Like, even the most absolutely moronic idiot child would not do that. And the villains are great. Once again, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor is awesome, but I also love Zod and his two cronies. They're threatening, but also pretty funny. So this is Planet Houston. It is fascinating to think what would happen if Superman were evil. So all that's pretty good. I do have some issues that keep me from liking it as much as the first movie. Some of the humor is a bit forced, especially in the beginning between Lex and Otis. Otis was okay in the first movie. He is so annoying in this one, and I'm thankful he's only in like 20 minutes. Also, why is his female assistant still with him when he tried to kill her mother? This part isn't a flaw, it just made me laugh. Kal-El, Superman's dad, says at the beginning, like, we don't have the death penalty, so we decided instead to imprison them in the Phantom Zone. And it's like, instead of just killing them, you put them in a prison, which is basically just this void that they can't escape from and they can't die. That sounds worse. Probably my biggest problem is the whole Clark giving up his powers for Lois thing. One, I don't get why he can't just be with her with his powers. Also, I swear to God, John Williams reused some stuff from Empire Strikes Back. Like, listen to some of the music in this and then watch Empire Strikes Back. It sounds the same. But yeah, besides that, this is just a pretty solid sequel. It's no Spider-Man 2 or Dark Knight or Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but it's a pretty good one.
Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
God, I fucking love this movie. This is one of those few films where I'm pretty much always up for watching it. Like, there are movies I love, maybe even a little bit more than this, but I have to be in the right mood to watch it. But movies like this and Close Encounters are just films that I can put on any time and am instantly entertained. So I haven't heard it personally, but I've heard other people say that they've heard people say that, well, it's not a bad movie, it is good, it's not one of the greats. And you know what? I disagree. I do genuinely think this is one of the best science fiction movies, and also one of the best family movies ever made. Okay, granted, I haven't seen like every single one, but in terms of what I've seen, I think this is objectively one of the best. Yes, I have nostalgia for it. Yes, John Williams' amazing score is doing a lot of work, but this movie is brilliantly directed. I know I'm not the first one to bring this up, but you don't see any adult faces, aside from Mary, the mother, until like over halfway through the film. That may seem like such a small detail, but it makes you afraid of them. It also has a lot of long takes that aren't really distracting. I brought this up in Jaws. Spielberg really is good at doing one takes that aren't feeling like they're showing off. And everything about it feels so natural. The kids feel genuine. They swear, they mock each other, but they also clearly love each other. And while yes, this movie is about an alien coming to Earth and befriending some children, which we've seen before and after this, it's also about a family who recently, the parents have divorced, they're arguing a lot, the dad has left, and this alien helps them. I really love Mary in this movie. She's clearly trying, but she is, at points, kind of a bad mom. Like when Elliot gets drunk in the classroom, she comes home and notices beer cans on the floor, which were done by E.T., but she doesn't know E.T. exists. She's the only one in that house who can drink legally. So she gets a call saying, hey, your son's acting intoxicated, and she's like, huh. And then right afterwards, she leaves like her 4 or 5-year-old daughter home alone. Again, we know E.T.'s there, but she doesn't. Jeez, I knew Gen X with the latchkey generation, but good God. I'd hope they'd at least wait till they're like 8. Are there some flaws? I guess. Like, when you get down to it, the ending is a bit of a deus ex machina. Some of the effects haven't held up, like some of the keying isn't very good. And also at the beginning, when E.T. is running from the agents, you can clearly tell he's just being pulled on a track, even though he should be like hopping. But yeah, I've talked about this movie several times. It appears every 5 years I'll do something on E.T. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites. E.T. kicks fucking ass.
The saga lives on. Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so like most people, I say this is the weakest of the original trilogy. Now I know not everyone believes that. For some people I've heard this is their favorite. But in most circles, it's pretty much unanimous that this is the weakest in the original trilogy. So we're rewatching, I decided to try and figure out why. It's not that anyone hates it. I've yet to hear anyone say they hate Return of the Jedi. But what is it about this one that makes it weaker than the other two in most people's eyes? And for me, it basically comes down to 3 things. 1, it's a rehash of A New Hope. Yeah, there's differences, but the main goal of both movies is destroy the Death Star. 2 is the Ewoks. Honestly, I don't mind them that much, and I actually kind of like them in the climax. It's kind of funny that with all this advanced technology the Empire have, they were destroyed by these furry creatures with rocks and sticks. It's more that once they come in, the movie just kind of grinds to a halt for like 15-20 minutes, and they're just not really that interesting of creatures. When you get down to it, they're basically bears. They're just anthro bears. Even the costumes aren't like that great. Like with all these other creatures, they feel like real living things, whereas these just look like people in suits. Like they stumbled onto a furry convention. And 3, and this is maybe my thing with this movie, I think Vader's turn to the good side felt a little rushed. Remember, this guy was just completely evil for the first 2 movies. He not only murdered tons of people, he would do it to his own subordinates. And then it's like, well, he meets his son and it's like, well, I'm a little torn, so guess I'm gonna be a good guy now. It makes a little more sense when you watch the prequel trilogy and see Anakin grow up, but like if you were to just watch this back in 1983, I can see it being kind of jarring. But with that said, those are really my only problems. This movie's still great. One thing I noticed a lot of people dislike, like Dante from Clerks, is that Empire was just very dark, and this one is much more light. And again, I love Empire, but I kind of like that. I like that after just a very depressing movie with such a bittersweet ending, it's nice to see one that kind of goes back to the first movie's sense of fun, while still having some dark elements. This has some of my favorite moments in the trilogy. I love pretty much everything at Jabba's palace. I love the speeder bike chase, and the climax is fantastic. In fact, rewatching all 3 of these movies, I noticed each one added a new story for the climax. Like in the first movie, it's just them trying to blow up the Death Star. In the second movie, it's not only Luke and Vader's fight, but also Leia, Chewie, and Lando trying to escape Cloud City. And in the third movie, we got 3. Trying to blow up the shield generator, trying to blow up the Death Star while going up against all these Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters, and Luke and Vader's fight in the throne room. It was also kind of nice seeing 3PO get a little something nice. And also, we get to see all of the characters together again. Like Luke and R2 were pretty much separated through most of Empire, so seeing Han and Leia and Luke and 3PO and R2 and Chewie all together on Endor, it's really nice. Is this my least favorite of the 3? Yeah, there are certain prequels and sequels I like more than this. But it's still a really good movie and a pretty good conclusion to this trilogy.
Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay, so this is the second movie that I've never actually seen before. Yes, I have never seen Beverly Hills Cop. Just never really interested me. Never was a huge fan of cop movies, but I actually like this one quite a bit. I don't think it's as good as Ghostbusters, the second highest grossing movie of the year, and also had SNL cast members, but I was surprised by how much I was laughing during this one, and how much I enjoyed the characters and story. I really enjoyed Taggart and Rosewood, the two cops meant to follow Axel Foley throughout the city. The action scenes were pretty fun, and I did legit gasp a few times. It is also one of the most 80s movies I've ever seen. This honestly felt like a movie from today set in the 80s. Don't have much else to say, this is just a really solid comedy. I guess the only thing I could complain about is that, a story about a cop who doesn't play by the rules doesn't exactly fly in 2025, but it does have an amazing soundtrack. I'm sure most of you are thinking, wait, I thought Back to the Future was the highest grossing movie of 1985, and domestically it was, but worldwide, apparently it went to Out of Africa, which would end up winning Best Picture that year. And I've watched a lot of the Best Picture nominees over the last 15 years, and one thing I've noticed about the Oscar movies is that they can fall into three categories. One is the movies that I just don't think are actually all that good. They annoy me, or they're not as well made or written as like the Oscar people think they are. Movies like American Hustle, Triangle of Sadness, or Amelia Perez. Then there's the ones that genuinely do surprise me. Movies I didn't think I would like as much as I did, like Life of Pi, or Fences, or American Fiction. But there are just plenty that fit into that category of, this is fine, but I can't get into it. It's just not a subject that interests me, and it's not told in a very interesting way. And that's basically Out of Africa. There's nothing really wrong with this movie. The acting is fine, it's got gorgeous cinematography, it's got good makeup and costume design. I just really couldn't get into it. Honestly, there were points I almost fell asleep, although that might be because I didn't get much sleep last night. It tells its story fine. It's just not a story I'm that interested in. If you love romantic dramas, you'll probably like this, although it is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. So even if you're a fan of this genre, it's gonna push your limits. Thing is, despite winning Best Picture, it doesn't have a great Rotten Tomatoes score. It's got like 62%, which isn't bad, but not nearly as high as I expected. But yeah, it's fine. It's not my thing, but if you like that kind of stuff, it's fine.
Tom Cruise, Kelly McGillis, Top Gun.
So I remember seeing this movie well over a decade ago because my mom had the DVD because she loves it, and I remember it being perfectly fine. I didn't love it, I didn't dislike it, it was fine. But I also never really felt the need to watch it again. Even when the sequel came out, I just sort of was like, nah, I don't feel like watching the first one. And rewatching it now, my opinion really hasn't changed. This movie is fine. Really, my only issue is the main character is just so obnoxious, which, yeah, I get is kind of the point. He starts out reckless, eventually grows to be more responsible. Yeah, we get all that. I more just mean in how the movie treats him. It's obnoxious. Maverick is the perfect 80s action hero, and that he just constantly gets away with shit that no one else would if he wasn't a good-looking white guy. He's a dick to everyone, and they just accept it. He is constantly breaking the rules, and the only repercussions he get is that Mr. Strickland from Back to the Future yells at him. He is really creepy with women. He gets all his buddies to gang up on this woman and just serenade her. Something that if it happened to me, I'd think I was about to get kidnapped. And then he just follows her into the ladies' room and she's like, hey, wanna do it on the floor? What? I'll say this, usually in 80s movies, it's only the guys who get so horny that they're stupid. This movie's like, no, women can be stupid horny too. The only time Maverick gets any repercussions is when he gets his best friend killed. But even then, it feels less like Maverick's fault and more like the fault of the jet's ejection features. Okay, I know I've been shitting on this movie, but I don't think it's bad. There is a lot of stuff I like. The action scenes are great. It's got pretty damn good visual effects that held up. The soundtrack is awesome. It's well acted. And for all my little nitpicky problems, I understand that most people are not going to be bothered by them. I understand why this movie was a hit. To me, I just think the movie is fine. It's a perfectly fun 80s action movie, though I did prefer Top Gun Maverick.
Good night, sweetheart. Good night. 3 men and a baby.
Okay, so this is movie 4 that I've never watched before, and I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, a lot of these men taking care of babies and children's jokes I've seen a lot in the years since. I don't even think this was the first, but it was definitely early on in that genre. I don't really have too much to say. I laughed a decent amount, I found it entertaining. The 3 leads have good chemistry, the baby's cute. Really, the only problem I have is like the last 20 minutes, because the whole drug dealer thing is wrapped up, and I looked at the time and I'm like, why is there still 25 minutes left? Well, it's because we gotta bring the mother back and she wants the baby and to move to London to be with her family. Okay, first of all, fuck you, bitch. You left your baby on a doorstep. But the whole last 20 minutes is just a bunch of moping and doping, and there's a very obvious solution. Sylvia is going back to London to be with her family so they can help her raise the baby, because she can't do it alone. What's the solution? For Sylvia to move in with them, and then all 4 of them can help raise the baby. Wow! Besides that, no real complaints. It's a solid little flick.
Who framed Roger Rabbit?
Alright, this is another one where sources are a bit mixed on what was the highest grossing movie of the year. Some say Rain Man, but Box Office Mojo says Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so that's what I'm doing. I reviewed this back in November of 2016 for that Robert Zemeckis-thon, and my opinion really hasn't changed that much. It's funny, it's very entertaining. Bob Hoskins is phenomenal in this. Despite all the weird and wacky things happening around him, he plays it so serious. So I don't have too much to add. Again, the mystery was a bit disappointing when I saw it the first time. I mean, the bad guy is super obvious. It's more like, why is he doing it? So really the only thing I tried to do when I watched it this time is look at the effects, how the animation and live action parts blend, and my god, this movie's pushing 40 years old and it still holds up really well. Like, there are a few parts, if you look closely, like, oh, that moved a little too soon or the lighting doesn't quite match. But for the most part, it holds up really well. It really was a groundbreaker. Even little details like Roger leaving dust prints on the chair. You didn't need to add that, no one will question it, but they did. Like, it just worked so well. I really didn't think about it till now, but this might be, in terms of special effects, one of the most important movies of the last 50 years. Alright, this one might be short because I'm not feeling very good and I don't have too much to say. Batman 1989 is good. It's still probably the 3rd best Batman movie, at least live action one, mostly due to 2 things, the atmosphere and the acting. The atmosphere in this film is fantastic. This Gotham City looks so damn good. It looks like a comic book city. The music by Danny Elfman is fantastic, and it just has so many moments to breathe in the atmosphere. And it has moments and props that don't make any logical sense, they just look cool. Like, you look at that Batmobile, it's like, how does that thing work? Logically, it shouldn't, but it looks awesome. And for the acting, Jack Nicholson is fantastic. We'll get to Dark Knight later, and I'm not taking anything away from Heath Ledger, but goddamn, there is something about Jack Nicholson's Joker. He's creepy, but also really funny. Like, he always has some great jokes.
What do you want?
My face on the $1 bill.
And just the look of him, he just has that perma smile. I'm still not entirely sure how dropping in acid gave him just that and nothing else. Michael Keaton, probably still the best Bruce Wayne and Batman. I believe him as both, and also that no one would believe that he is the Caped Crusader. Like I said, even though it's well over 30 years old and there's been plenty more Batman movies, this is still one of the best. It's not one I love. I do find some parts of it a little boring. But even if you don't like it, you kind of have to respect it because it was the template for like every gritty Batman and, well, basically every gritty comic book movie of the last 30 years.
Home Alone. Are you here all alone?
I'm 8 years old. You think I'd be here alone? I don't think so.
You know, I've watched this movie well over 20 times, but this is the first time I've watched it in spring. Home Alone is the biggest fuck you to movie critics I've ever seen. Because when it came out, this movie got mixed reviews. And while its Rotten Tomatoes score I think has moved up to somewhere in the 70s, I remember just about a decade ago when it was at like 45, 46%. But despite that, it not only was a huge hit, it became a bona fide Christmas classic. In fact, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this is one of the most famous Christmas movies ever made. So yes, I really do like this movie, but I don't actually find it that funny. Don't get me wrong, it has its funny moments, like the stuff with the spider, but if I want laughs, I'll usually just watch the second movie. With this movie, I just find it entertainingly cozy. Entertaining because, yeah, it's never boring. I always have a good time watching it. And cozy because it feels like Christmas. Like it's like a good warm sweater. The production design is just filled with so many reds and greens and whites. There's snow. It's just so Christmassy, which again makes it a little weird watching it in spring. It's directed really well. It's got a few pretty nice long takes, and it does a good job setting everything up to where, even though it is very convenient, it doesn't feel contrived. I do find the beginning a little too mean-spirited. Yeah, I get it's the point, but I just never liked how at least the adults treated Kevin in the beginning. You could say it's realistic, I don't care. I just hated how they treated him. The kids I'm willing to forgive, but seeing the adults do it just always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I fucking hate Uncle Frank. I hate that guy. And also, this is a question I've always had. Did that pizza delivery guy never call the cops for being shot at? But yes, the traps are fun. It's a very entertaining movie. The ending always gets me to tear up a little bit. It's a very humble film. No one expected this movie to be a big hit. They were just kinda hoping it would make its money back at a little more. And it became, at the time, one of the highest grossing movies.
Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
I didn't see Beauty and the Beast until I was about 17 years old when the Diamond Edition came out. So I don't really have the nostalgic connection that a lot of people my age have for it. Do I like this movie? Yes, but I don't absolutely love it. And yes, we can have it all be those nitpicky problems like, why the hell did this enchantress just curse everyone else in the castle when it was only the Beast being a dick? How did everyone forget that this kingdom apparently had a prince? But those are like the fairy tale aspect. I can ignore those. I think it's more a personal thing. You see, I think there are two types of musicals. There's musicals, and then there's musicals. It's kind of hard to describe, it's more just a feeling you get. Most of the other Disney Renaissance films are musicals. Aladdin, Lion King, Mulan. This, on the other hand, is a musical. It just has the feel of a stage play. And personally, I just prefer musicals over musicals. Yes, I like most of the songs in this, but they do get a little overwhelming at a time, especially if you watch the special edition, where there's like 3 songs in like 10 minutes. When I was younger and first saw this, I really fucking hated Lumiere. He just annoyed the shit out of me, and the fact that I kind of identify with Cogsworth a lot because I was also kind of that guy who's like stickler for the rules, doesn't want to get in trouble. But as I've gotten older, I kind of like him a little bit. One complaint I don't buy is the whole thing about Stockholm Syndrome. She doesn't really start to like him until he stops being a dick and saves her. In fact, the thing I like the most about this movie is the relationship between the two. I totally buy that they fell in love. In fact, my favorite part is when he shows her the big library and then the song and montage that come afterwards. I love how kind of goofy and excited the Beast is to show her that library. Gaston's great. He's the perfect personification of toxic masculinity. And I do have one problem, and I know it's gonna get me a lot of shit. I don't think Paige O'Hara's performance as Belle is that great. Now, don't get me wrong. Her singing is great, and I've heard her in other performances where she's very good, but something about her in this movie she sounds like she's always about to cry.
Once you get to know him, why don't you give him a chance?
I don't want to get to know him. I don't want to have anything to do with him.
Again, that kind of fits into the whole stage musical thing. That would work on stage, but in a movie it just sounds off. But yes, I do like this movie. Is it my favorite Disney movie? No. Do I think it deserves to be one of the few animated films to get a Best Picture nomination? No. But it's good. I get why people love it. Any problems I have are more just personal taste things. Although I have to ask, When the hell did Mrs. Potts give birth to Chip? When she was 62?
Walt Disney Pictures' Aladdin, the movie USA Today gives 4 stars.
Never had a friend like me. Ha!
Made you look.
You know, I just realized in a 4-year span, 3 of the top highest grossing movies were Disney animated flicks. So just like Beauty and the Beast, I didn't see this movie as a kid, although I think I finally watched it around 11. You see, back in my day, there was this thing called the Disney Vault, where for some reason I still don't fully understand, Disney would release their films on home video for a limited time and then just not. So if you didn't already have them, you basically just had to hope they aired on Disney Channel or ABC or something. That's like the only reason I saw films like Mulan and Tarzan. You kids today with your Disney Plus don't know how good you got it. But yes, I have said before that Aladdin is my favorite Disney animated film, and well, I do think 101 Dalmatians is starting to maybe get close to overtaking it. I still love Aladdin. You see, the first time I saw this was when the Platinum Edition came out. We rented it from the video store for a weekend, and if you had been anywhere around me those 2 days, I would have been either watching this movie or watching the bonus features. This movie is just so much fun. Yes, it gets praised for its comedy, but just the adventure, the action, it's all just so fun. It's a fun movie. Robin Williams as the genie is of course hilarious, but I think he kind of overshadows the other characters. I think every single main character in this movie gets a laugh. Aladdin does, the Sultan does, Abu does. Even characters you wouldn't assume would be that funny, like Jasmine and Jafar, get some chuckles. I think it's time that we say goodbye to Prince Abu. Jasmine herself is one of my favorite Disney princesses because she's not only funny, but she's also really smart and tough. She tries to fight Jafar and, well, he's outpowering her. She is trying, and she's able to figure out stuff that a lesser Disney princess wouldn't. She pretty quickly pieces together that Ali is the boy from the market, tricks him into confessing it, and when Aladdin is sneaking in, she quickly creates a distraction by pretending to hit on Jafar. Aladdin himself is smart and nice, but he is also, lying, so he's not a perfect person. And of course, the movie is very funny, but not just because of Robin Williams, who is fantastic, but all the voice actors are good. It has some good writing and some phenomenal animation. Rewatching this, I think this might be a groundbreaker in animation. Not just because it's beautiful, but the timing, the facial expressions, the speed. Yeah, I just watched Beauty and the Beast and that has some wacky hijinks moments, but with Aladdin, it's basically the whole movie. And that really wasn't done before this, and afterwards kind of became how a lot of animated films are. If we didn't have this, then movies like the Spider-Verse movies or The Bad Guys would not exist in the way they do today. And all the songs are great. A Whole New World is my favorite Disney song, and if I ever get married, it's the song I want to dance to at my wedding. I love this movie. Like I said, 101 Dalmatians as I'm getting older is maybe starting to get back up there as my favorite, but this is still my favorite of the Disney Renaissance, and I love every second of it.
Jurassic Park.
So I've never really been able to do a list of my top 20, top 30 favorite movies, listing them all from 20 to 1 or whatever. I don't even think I could definitively say what is my favorite movie of all time. But if anyone ever asks, I'll usually just say Jurassic Park, mostly because it's amazing and also I'm not really gonna get anybody arguing with me. This movie is so damn good. And strangely, despite this coming out the year I was born, I didn't really grow up with it. I didn't see it until I was 13 or 14. But damn, this movie is just so freaking good. It just gives you everything you could possibly want from a dinosaurs on the loose movie. It's a good mix of practical and CGI. This is one of the earliest examples of CGI, and I'm not gonna say every effect is still amazing 32 years later, but the fact that they look as good as they do 32 years later speaks wonders. And it also just has this sense of wonder to it, getting to just gaze in amazement at the dinosaurs. There are several parts of this movie that even though I've seen it well over 20 times now, I was still just sitting there mouth open and everything, just because I just mesmerized by it. But it's also scary. The T-Rex escaping is still one of my favorite movie moments, like, of all time. And it does a good job making the characters likable, which is surprising because in the book, they're not really that likable at all. Like, Grant is fine, I guess Tim's okay, Sattler's just nothing, she's just kind of there. Every other character is kind of an ass in some way. Don't get me wrong, the book is great, but Malcolm is pretentious as shit in it. I was kind of hoping he would die, and spoilers, he technically does, but then he was so loved in this movie that when Crichton wrote the second book, he just had him come back and say, I only appeared dead. Lex in the book is just one of the most annoying child characters you'll ever read. The book is graphic too. This movie's PG-13 and it goes pretty far for a PG-13, but good God. You want nightmares? Read up on Nedry's death in the book. If you can find, an audio recording on YouTube or something, go for it, because it is fucking disturbing. And it's kind of harsh, because in the book, you kind of get why he does it. Hammond's just an ass. In the movie, he genuinely seems like a nice person who got in over his head, but genuinely wants to give people a sense of awe and wonder. In the book, honestly, he's just Elon Musk. Everything you hate about Elon Musk, Hammond is in the book. Just side note, has nothing really to do with anything, but did you know the guy who plays Dr. Wu in this movie is Shang from Mulan? While I love this movie, there are two things that kind of annoy me about it. One is a nitpick. It has a few of those 90s feminist moments.
Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth.
Shut up. But the other, this movie has some very sloppy editing mistakes. It's not all the time, but sometimes things will just disappear in between shots. Characters will move in between shots. A random drop appears in the T-Rex paddock just so they could have an awesome action scene. But besides that, this movie is just so fun. It is a fun adventure movie. At the time I'm recording this, the new Jurassic World movie hasn't come out yet, but even if it's absolutely amazing, I still don't think it'll top this. Unlike Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, I actually did watch this as a kid. We had the VHS Clam Showcase, if you remember that. I specifically remember watching it once when I was sick, when I was 4 or 5 years old. But, as I said, it was very hard to find this thing on DVD. We eventually got a DVD player, the VCR was put away, so I don't think I would watch it again in full until I was 17. So I don't have quite the huge nostalgia a lot of people my age have for it, but it's a really good movie. First of all, this is one of the most beautiful animated movies I've ever seen. This film is gorgeous to look at. The songs are a lot of fun. As I've said before, I love I Can't Just Wait to Be King. It is so bouncy and fun and a great sing-along song. But Circle of Life, Be Prepared, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, those are all good too. Hakuna Matata's kind of annoying, but in that catchy, charming way. Honestly, I think Simba's probably the least interesting character in the movie. I like him as a kid because he has more of a personality. He's just a little shit. But as an adult, he's kind of boring. But I love the relationship between him and Mufasa. They do not have much time to build up a relationship between these two before he is killed off. But damn it, I believe it. There's a reason people cry at his death scene. Scar might be a little too obviously evil. I mean, if my brother acted like this, I wouldn't let him near my son. Timon and Pumbaa are pretty funny, and I really like Nala. She might be one of my favorite female Disney characters. Can't she be considered a Disney princess? She's technically marries a king. But yeah, as a kid like Simba, she's kind of a little troublemaker. I just thank God. When I was growing up, all of the girls in the media I watched were the goody two-shoes, the ones who followed the rules, did everything right. So to have a girl character who's a little bit of a shit herself is kind of refreshing, especially for the time. But she grows up and learns responsibility, and when she meets up with Simba again, it's kind of nice to see them just reconcile and be friends and possibly do other things. I don't know. I just don't see many people give Nala credit, but she really is one of the best Disney female characters. I like the message about not dwelling in the past and learning to get over it and learn from your mistakes. I do think that Simba probably could have figured out that he wasn't actually responsible for Mufasa's death, and have all the lionesses be like, really? You did it, Simba? You were responsible? I don't know, it feels a little forced. I kind of would have just rather have Scar not admit that he's the one who killed him, and the lioness is to be like, yeah, fuck you. You're a terrible king. Besides that, though, it's a really good movie.
7.
I have no idea what the highest grossing movie of 1995 is. Sources tell me it's either Die Hard with a Vengeance, Toy Story, or 7. By the time I got to 95, Box Office Mojo said it was 7. Apparently it made a lot of money overseas, so that's what I'm doing. Man, talk about a predicament. Do I have to watch Die Hard, 3, Toy Story, or 7 tonight? Oh my god, my life is so hard. This is still my favorite David Fincher movie. Gone Girl would probably be second, but this movie is so damn good. And I feel it should be more boring than it is. It's 2 hours, there's not that much action, it's a lot of talking, but I'm thrilled through pretty much all of it. I love the look of this film. There are certain movies where I just remember how it looks. The lighting, the production design, the color grading, just something about how they did that just makes me appreciate it. The Ring remake is another one, The Invisible Man, and this. I just love how it looks. And I love how much rain is in it. This movie has so much rain. It's like every day a monsoon is happening. And this is something I really didn't pick up until this time, which I'm sure some of you will call me idiot for not getting it until like my 10th viewing or so, but Wills and Somerset are just completely different personalities. Somerset is calm, he's cool, he's collected, whereas Mills is eager, he's angry, and just wants to go in guns a-blazing. I know it seems obvious, but I didn't really realize it, and when I was younger I probably sided more with Mills, but in this viewing I'm like, nah, Somerset's the better one. I just love how Morgan Freeman will glare at him, just like, calm down, I'm Morgan Freeman. I love that this movie's 30 years old and he was playing a retiring man. He's just always been old, and he's still around. You know, I just realized I said when I was younger I sympathized with Mills more, but I realized more of his flaws when I grew up, but I think Brad Pitt was the age I am now when he made this. And it has one of my favorite endings of all time, and proof that I don't dislike depressing endings just on principle. This and Blair Witch Project are two films that have pretty much downer endings that I love, and also if they had happy endings, it would feel out of place. The movie's great. It's my favorite David Fincher movie. I think it might be my favorite Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman movie. Love it. Welcome to the disaster movie portion of this marathon. I unapologetically love Independence Day. I know in the late 2000s and early 2010s it was popular to say this movie sucks. But then, ironically around the time ID4 Resurgence came out, people said, wait a minute, I love Independence Day. This movie is a perfect summer blockbuster. It is just so much fun. Is it dumb? I don't think it's necessarily dumb, it's just campy. It's a B-movie, a high-budget 50s B-movie made in the 90s. It's got cliches, it has science that makes absolutely no sense, it's unapologetically good versus evil. It's a B-movie in modern day. And by modern day, I mean 29 years ago. Right down to the fact that it takes itself so goddamn seriously. Don't get me wrong, it has funny moments. There are characters that are very funny, but the plot itself is taken so straight. Everyone treats the material like it's actually an alien invasion. And it doesn't shy away from some of the more depressing stuff. People die. People have to make decisions that are really hard decisions that they have to deal with. And I brought this up in the World of Worlds review. I like that they give us characters that are going to die who aren't necessarily main characters, but they give us a little bit of development. Like Jasmine's friend, Steve's friend, David's boss. All these characters end up dying before the halfway mark. And it's not like we know a ton about them, but we know a little, and it gives some personality to all the background faces that end up being obliterated. This movie has such good build-up. The first 40 minutes are just the aliens coming down, setting up over every single major city in the world. Everyone panicking, some people wondering if they're gonna be not hostile. David realizing they are hostile and there's a countdown to when something really bad's gonna happen. So when that clock hits 0 and DC, New York, and LA are just completely wiped out, it feels earned. If it had just started with that, it wouldn't have been as interesting. And I know some people say that after that, the movie gets boring, and I personally don't find it boring, but I can see some people saying it peaks too early. Effects are great. It actually uses a pretty fair amount of both CG and practical effects. And while not all of the CG holds up, a lot of it surprisingly does. Are there parts that don't make logical sense? Yes, obviously they wouldn't be able to upload a virus into the mothership, but it explains it enough that if you're willing to suspend your suspension of disbelief, you can buy it. Honestly, the only thing that really confused me was Dennis Quaid continuing to be mocked when he says that he was abducted by aliens after the aliens arrive. I don't care. If aliens are invading, I'm gonna believe anyone who said they were abducted before. This is one of my top 20 favorite movies. I know it's not one of the greatest films ever made, but as far as big budget popcorn movies go, you can't really get much better than this. I reviewed this a few years ago, and I really don't have anything else to add. I only have one problem, and it's that I don't think we really need this stuff in modern day, or at the very least we could condense it down. Again, have it be that Rose's granddaughter, great-granddaughter finds that necklace and then tells the story. You could have summed that up in like 5 minutes and then had your epilogue, and her narration is pretty pointless. But besides that, I think it's a pretty damn good movie. Special effects hold up, for the most part. Production design is amazing, costumes are amazing. When the ship is sinking, it is legitimately frightening, and everything after that is pretty tear-jerking. I actually started getting a little teary-eyed in this.
Jack! There's a boat, Jack!
Jack and Rose are cute together, and I like Rose as a character. I love how she uses sexism to her advantage, and I especially love the moment where she just tells her mother to shut up. That is one of the most satisfying things in the movie. So yeah, this is a pretty damn good movie. It's a little long, but with the exception of the stuff in the present day, it earns it.
Armageddon. A Jerry Bruckheimer production, directed by Michael Bay.
This movie is so okay. I remember I saw it once over a decade ago. I think it would have been in 18, I think. And even back then I thought, this is just okay, and never really had a desire to watch it again. And watching it again, yeah, remember what I said about Independence Day and how it had really good build-up? This movie peaks too early. Like, we see these asteroids destroying cities, causing mayhem, and then it never really gets that good again. It has its moments, it has a lot of personality and humor, I'll give it that much. And when it's just the guys training, it is kind of fun, and they're funny. And is the plot stupid? Yes, but it knows it. Obviously, it'd be easier to just train astronauts to dig than train diggers to be astronauts. It knows it doesn't care. When it's trying to be just fun and stupid and silly like that, that's when it's at its best, but it tries to play it so seriously, especially at the end. When Willis tells Affleck, when he pushes him into the little elevator thing, he's like, "You were like a son to me," I'm like, you fucking tried to shoot him earlier in the movie. It's a Michael Bay movie, so the special effects are pretty good, and it held up really well. It does the booms good. Can I see why it was a hit? Yeah. Do I ever really plan to watch it again? No. And I hope you enjoyed that last bit of originality, because with one exception, nothing but sequels and IPs from here. Boy, that movie was way ahead of its time. I'm filming this in April, and currently the United States is in the midst of trade wars with pretty much the entire world because our president is stupid and bad. And this movie's not only about trade wars, but also Senate not doing anything, and because they're so useless, they end up giving a fascist making him the leader, and it's like, oh wow, this really was just too ahead of its time, wasn't it? So for years, The Phantom Menace was like a punchline. There are some movies you were just not allowed to say you liked, and this was one of them. Despite the fact that it got decent reviews when it came out, but as time has passed, I think that started to wane off. Oh, don't get me wrong, there's still people who hate this and the other two prequels, but the only people who seem to still be on the prequels are bad, right? Like everyone agrees with me, are like late Gen X, early millennials. You know, the ones who were like teenagers and early 20s when they came out. I like this movie a lot, and I don't think it's just nostalgia. It's fun. Like, another criticism they had was that it was about boring subjects like taxation and trades and stuff like that. You know, the politics stuff. But one, probably should have listened to it. And two, no, this movie has a lot of action. Remember how I said with the original trilogy they added another battle in each climax? Well, this is the fourth movie and it has 4 climactic battles. The Gungans, Padme and her group, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul, and Anakin in the space battle. Can I see how some might not get into the politics stuff? Sure, and I just realized watching it that half of this movie is just trying to get parts for a ship, but I don't care. I think this movie has enough action for everyone. Also, it is a gorgeous movie. The production design, the color, and the visuals. No, I'm not going to say that every visual effect in this 26-year-old movie holds up. But one, for 1999, they look amazing. And two, a lot of them do. The ships, the worlds, the droids, they all still look great. It's really only the creatures that maybe they should have done some more practical. But again, for 1999, they look great. The makeup effects are great too. This has a lot of unique looking creatures. I honestly really don't have much problem with it. There are a couple of things though. The way the Trade Federation guys talk, and the fact that they're, being real sneaky with money and all that.
Begin landing your troops.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
And the Jedi?
It is kind of problematic, we'll say. And then there's the Gungans who talk in broken English. And then, of course, there's Jar Jar. I really do feel if he was not in this movie, it wouldn't have gotten the backlash it did. I don't really like or dislike him. He does not ruin this movie for me. I don't know. Like I said, the only people I see, really still sticking up with the prequels and especially Phantom Menace are bad and horrible and no one likes them are people in their 40s now. So I really have no hangups anymore. I love Phantom Menace.
This message will destruct in 5 seconds.
I think this movie can be summed up very easily in its theme song. Whereas in the first movie, it's more subdued. In this one, it's completely done on an aggressive rock guitar. Duh, 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 duh. I actually didn't see this until I had seen several of the other Mission Impossible movies. I had heard this was the worst one, and it is. But most people's problem seems to be that it's too over the top. Honestly, I don't think it's over the top enough. It wants to be, it has moments, but mostly it's just kind of boring. There is not really much action until an hour in. I think people are just blown away by the last 15-20 minutes where it's just non-stop insane action set piece. Where he's going on a motorcycle and somehow has his feet off of it as it's continuing to go, jump off the motorcycle and slam into each other. That stuff is dumb, but at least it was interesting. But most of it is just talking and stuff, and it's just not very interesting. There is also so much slow-mo. I haven't actually seen any other John Woo movies. It feels so self-indulgent on both the director and Tom Cruise's part. To the point where Ethan doesn't really feel like the same Ethan we saw in the first movie or the sequels. I rewatched the first movie before I saw this, and I still have no idea what it's about. That was a criticism everyone has. It's way too convoluted, so they really dumbed this movie down. But even with that, I still found myself being wait, why was he doing this? Why is that happening? Because I would just check out so often. Is it a terrible movie? No. It does have some great stunt work, and as over the top as it is, it is at least well choreographed. Is this the worst Mission Impossible movie? Yes, but that's also kind of just a compliment to the other movies just getting better. I'm actually recording this a few weeks before the final movie comes out, The Final Reckoning, so maybe that will overtake this as the worst one, but I doubt it. In fact, future Norty, I'm asking this question. Is Mission Impossible 2 still the worst movie in the franchise? There you go. I guess it's a little better than Armageddon and Out of Africa, so I can't say it's the worst I reviewed in this movie's marathon, but I really don't have any desire to watch it again. Welcome to the fantasy portion of this marathon. When this came out, I knew what Harry Potter was, but I really didn't read any of the books and had no interest in seeing this movie, so I didn't. I do, however, remember going to church on opening weekend, and the theater that's right down the street from the church had lines around the freaking block. I didn't actually see this until it came out on DVD. I can't remember if we rented it or my cousins brought it over, but I watched it and it blew my fucking mind. And afterwards, I saw every single one of the movies in theaters. I love the production design of this movie. I just love it. It looks so good. It looks so beautiful and whimsical. Every time something magical happens, there is this sense of wonder and magic to it. And I love that we get to see it through the eyes of a character who's experiencing it for the first time. This movie is also a miracle of casting. Think about it. They had to get child actors between 8 and 13 who not only were British, but had to have some acting capability and have good chemistry with each other, and at least somewhat resemble the characters from the book. And they managed to find pretty much everyone. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Draco, and the adult actors are perfect too, especially Alan Rickman as Snape. He is so perfect, you don't even question that he's technically supposed to be 31 years old, even though Rickman was in his mid-50s. Although the beginning is a bit bittersweet now that all three actors in that are dead. I was actually surprised how well some of the effects held up. Fluffy still looks pretty solid and the chessboard is pretty good. Obviously, not all of them hold up. That troll looks fake, and it's kind of hilarious when Harry gets around his neck and he's tossing him around and you could just tell it's a CG double for Harry. CG doubles also happen in the flying scenes, like during Quidditch, and my god, it is so noticeable when it's a real actor on a green screen and a CG character. There are a few contrivances, like they just suddenly walk into the third floor corridor. In the book, it was like they were running from Filch, because it was late at night. But in this one, it's just like, hey, the staircase dropped us off here. Let's go in. Of course, I've already mentioned how stupid it is that their detention is to go into the Forbidden Forest. That was dumb in both the movie and book. But one other thing that I've thought since I was a kid, why did Hermione lie about the troll?
I went looking for the troll. I read about them and thought I could handle it. But I was wrong.
Why not just tell them the truth? I was in the bathroom, they came to warn me. Also, just gotta say, Hermione, no, sports talent is not genetic. My dad was on the football team. I can't play football worth shit. But yeah, I'd still say this is a pretty good movie. Again, it just has this sense of wonder to it that a lot of its knockoffs didn't. So before we get into this, I kind of want to talk about the first time I ever watched these movies, because I didn't see them until years after they came out. I think it was late 2009 or early 2010, and I was taking a creative writing class, and during that class, our teacher just decided, I'm going to show you the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. I guess it taught us some writing. So, imagine your introduction to these movies being in 40-minute bursts over the course of a month. That was my intro. So when it comes to fantasy movies, I tend to prefer the more real world meets fantasy rather than just fantasy world in general. You know, your Harry Potters, your Narnias, your Spiderwick Chronicles. That said, these are very good movies, though I will say Two Towers is definitely my least favorite. I thought that when I first saw it, and I still think it today. For me, it's just the one with the most boring parts. All three definitely are very long movies. So there are going to be a few parts where I'm like, okay, can we maybe speed through this a bit? But this is the one that had the most for me. I really like the stuff with Sam, Frodo, and Gollum. I really love Sam and Frodo's friendship. I know people make gay jokes about them, but it's nice to have two male characters who are just really good friends, stick up for each other, are there for each other, aren't allowed to be a little affectionate with each other. I've never read the books. I tried once. I remember I rented the whole trilogy from the library, and I got a few chapters into Fellowship, and I'm like, these are some very hard words. The other stuff is good. I mean, the stuff at Helm's Deep is fine. Merry and Pippin finding Treebeard is fine. It's just, I find more really good moments in the first and third movie. Does still have great special effects. Like, some of the Treebeard stuff is starting to show its age, but for the most part, it still looks really good. And it's kind of incredible because, if I remember right, this had less of a budget than other big blockbusters of the time, like Chamber of Secrets, Spider-Man, Attack of the Clones, Die Another Day. Like, those all had bigger budgets, but this probably looks the best out of all of them. Maybe Chamber of Secrets. So yeah, it's good. It's just my least favorite of the three. Yes, I've been crying. What of it? These movies are so long. I started watching all Fellowship before midnight, and now it's daytime. It's like 8:30 in the morning now. So you remember how I said that my first viewing of these movies was in 40-minute bursts every day? Well, most of it. The bell rang during this movie right when Frodo and Sam were trapped on Mount Doom surrounded by lava. And then it's just like, well, tomorrow we're going back to regular work. And I'm like, well, what happens after that? Is that how it ends? No, turns out there's like a half hour left and like 5 or 6 endings. This movie is great. Definitely my favorite of the three. It is exciting. The action is great. All the characters get arcs, music is wonderful, the special effects have held up really well, and it does a good job in building tension. Like, stuff will start out bad, but then something happens, it's like, okay, we've got a hope spot, it's getting better, then nope, things are getting bad again, then a little get better, nope, things are getting bad again. Just, that keeps happening, and it's really, really intense. I believe this is the 5th and final Best Picture winner we'll be looking at in this marathon, and yeah, I'd say this is one of those that deserved it. It doesn't normally go to movies like this. Do I have any complaints? Well, aside from, yes, it is very long, I don't think it really needs to cut anything, though. If anything, it probably could add a little more, like whatever happened to Saruman. Yes, I know that's in the extended editions, but I'm watching the theatrical version. One complaint that is kind of nitpicky, but I really think would have made it a little bit stronger. When Gollum tricks Frodo into thinking that Sam ate those, that bread, the bread wrapped in lettuce leaves, I think it would have been stronger if we didn't see Sam find that and be like, oh, he did it. Like, I thought he knew that. It just seems a little weird. Yeah, you know you didn't eat it, but I think it would have been stronger if we didn't see that and he just came back and saved him anyway, because they're friends. That's what friends do. And yeah, I don't know why, but this movie did make me cry. It always makes me cry. Like, watching all three back to back to back, it really is kind of an adventure. It feels like you've been on a journey. Oh, by the way, I didn't actually mention, I did actually watch the ending shortly after we finished in class, and I didn't get to see how it ends. And, well, let's just say I didn't watch it the legal way.
Shrek 2.
Happily ever after portion.
Give me that bottle.
Donkey, you're a
stallion, baby.
I remember seeing the first Shrek in theaters. I didn't really have any desire to. I remember just watching the trailers on TV, and it looked a little weird to me. But one Friday after school, my dad's like, hey, we're going to movies to see Shrek. And I'm like, okay. And I remember liking it. I was 8, so pretty much any movie I saw in the theater, I was gonna like a little bit. I did not see Shrek 2 in theaters. My mom took my brother and sister to see it while me and my dad saw Prisoner of Azkaban. That said, these first 2 movies hold up really well, especially this one. I think this is a great sequel. The first one is good. It's not one I like love. I'm not obsessed with it like some people are. I find it more entertaining than I do funny. This one, however, I find very entertaining and very funny. It just consistently is throwing jokes at you. Jokes that work. It'll even have jokes in kind of somber moments where you're supposed to feel a little sorry for the characters, but they work. A great example would be when the three are in the bar and they're sad and the bartender is the ugly stepsister as, hey, why the long face? And talking to Donkey, who's now a horse, and he just looks at him like... But it's not just a good comedy. This is like a legitimately really good movie with characters I really like. I think Fiona and Shrek are really cute together. I like the stuff with the parents. You could tell the mom is a little awkward, but she's trying. She wants what's best for Fiona. And the dad does too. He's just a little too prejudiced. The animation is fantastic. I mean, this movie's 21 years old and it still looks great. I thought the first one looked great too. The thing is, they really did humans well, and people forget this, but with early CG animation, even in theaters, humans looked pretty bad. Like, Incredibles managed to make humans look good, but they were so stylized. This has to make humans that look somewhat realistic, and it pulls it off really well. You would not expect that until like around 2007 or 8. Soundtrack's great too. But yeah, mostly it just works because it's a damn good comedy. I was laughing hysterically at the end.
Not the gumdrop button!
Be good. I love the gingerbread man. I love him so much. He's like the only character who was funny in the third movie. I don't really even have any huge problem, I guess, if I'm nitpicking. The whole Donkey and Puss rivalry on who's Shrek's best friend, that was a little forced and barely a thing. It just kind of seemed like that's where they were going in the second act and then was forgotten about. Also, I think Fiona's mom is into bestiality by the end of this. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite DreamWorks movies. I kinda do wish I had seen it in theaters, but at least both me and my siblings got a good movie this time, unlike when I saw a Goblet of Fire and they went to see Chicken Little. And speaking of Goblet of Fire...
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
I've noticed something with book fans, repeat, book fans, not critics, not general audiences, that when it comes to them, their least favorite of the movies is either the fourth film, the fifth film, or the sixth film, because those are the ones that had to omit the most stuff. With me, it's Order of the Phoenix, and it ain't even close. I don't mind a lot of the omissions in Half-Blood Prince, because that was my least favorite of the books. Goblet of Fire, however, is one of my favorites of the books, and yet I don't actually mind a lot of the omissions. Like, maybe there's a few things I wish they had kept, but we really don't need the spew stuff. I mean, it's nice that Hermione is trying to end slavery, but let's be honest here, those house elves kind of deserve it. While this movie does omit a lot of stuff, I think it gets the main gist of the book down, and that is that being a teenager sucks. Like, that's what this movie and the book kind of were. It's just, being a teenager is awful. Every character in this is so goddamn horny. They're arguing over stupid bullshit, and they have a sense of pride when they're being celebrated. I really like how they handled Harry in this movie. He's a good kid, but he is still a kid. So while he doesn't really want all this attention, when he does get it, especially when you see his upbringing, yeah, he's gonna be a little prideful and boastful a bit.
Who wants me to open it? Do you want me to open it?
I've said it before, no matter what you think about this movie, you cannot deny it is epic. Everything in this movie is just big. Everything. The effects are big, the sets are big, and the acting is big. Everyone in this movie is so over the top. All the kids were probably told to act angsty as hell, and then of course there's Sir Michael Gambon as Dumbledore, and I really do think he did a good job in all the other movies. This was just bad direction. It wouldn't be that big a deal if the book didn't specifically say Dumbledore asked calmly, and yet he's just shaking Harry going like, did you put your name in that Goblet of Fire? That said, despite its epicness, the actual Triwizard tasks are kind of a mixed bag. The first one's cool, although again, that Mother Dragon is the worst mother. The second task is okay. I mean, it's kinda cool, kinda creepy. But then the maze task is just so disappointing. In the book, there's like boggarts, there's a sphinx, there's this mist that turns you upside down. And yet in this, it just kind of tries to eat them. Sure, there's a few things that don't make sense, like why didn't Barty Crouch Jr. just make a port key out of a fork or something and hand it to Harry and transport him to the graveyard? And like, really, what is preventing them from not letting Harry compete? But if you did that, then we wouldn't have a story. Also, Ron is right. Crumb is way too old for Hermione. He's like 17, 18, she's 14, that's a little creepy. I'll end this by mentioning that this was the first Potter film rated PG-13, and that same year Revenge of the Sith was the first Star Wars movie rated PG-13, and I think they both earned it. Like, I did feel like I was being challenged at the time. But yeah, I think this movie's really good. It's not my favorite. You could say that the third movie or the last two movies are better, and I'll always probably love the second movie the most. But damn, it's just so epic. So before we get to this movie, I want to talk about my first experience watching the original movie, Curse of the Black Pearl, because I did not see that in theaters. I actually saw it a few years afterwards. It was the last day of school, I think 6th or 7th grade. All the finals were done and you basically had two choices. You could go outside and play, or go to the auditorium and watch a movie. Well, I, being the fat kid, didn't really care to go outside, so I watched a movie. And it just so happened it was Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. I didn't really have much expectations, but when I watched it, I fucking loved it. I was so invested in that movie, and here's the funny part. This was my experience watching it. Yes, at that moment, they shut it off because it was time to go home. I was like, what happens? What happens after that? And I think my cousins had a copy, so they let me borrow it, and I watched it. And of course, a few months later, the sequel came out, so of course I was interested in going to see that. That said, I remember when I first saw this being kinda disappointed. I didn't dislike it, but I just thought it was okay compared to the first movie. That said, all these years later, I actually think it's better than I remember. It does have some of those sequel problems. It brings back characters that really don't need to be brought back. It is very long. Some parts are pointless, like that entire Cannibal Island scene is completely pointless. It's cool, maybe a little racist, but it's cool, but objectively you did not need it. That new Norrington guy whose name I can't even remember, who ends up being like, I guess the main villain of the next movie, is so boring. And also, watching this after watching the first movie, you can tell the difference those 3 years made in filmmaking. Remember how I said like a lot of like the latter half of the 2000s and like very early 2010s were much darker in film, not thematically, just like lighting wise, color wise. The first movie, while it is a very dark and action-packed movie, there's still a lot of color to it, whereas this, you can tell a lot of the color is muted. You can tell the lighting is darker, and it would only get worse in the years afterwards. That said, I don't really have any other problems. Captain Jack Sparrow is amazing. I like Will and Elizabeth. All the other pirates are fun. Davy Jones is cool, and the CG on him really holds up. Of course, he's like the new thing like everyone points to when they want to complain about like modern special effects. Like when this movie came out, we compared it to like T2 and Jurassic Park, and now everyone's comparing it to this movie and be like, oh, why can't special effects look this good all the time? Well, you need to give the people money and the time to do it. You got to give them the money and the time. The action's a lot of fun. It introduces some cool new characters, and the climax is amazing. Like the entire third act is exactly what I wanted. Insane action scenes. They're going on that wheel and spinning around, and it's a lot of fun. And it ends on a note where I'm like, okay, I don't like this as much as the first one, but I want to see what happens, and we'll get to that. And I'll say in this movie and the third movie's favor, they push the PG-13 as far as you can. And just one final thing, how the hell does that dice game work? I'd spent almost 20 years and I'm still not entirely sure how the hell that game works. You know, it's weird that the 4 highest grossing movies of 2007 are now some of the go-to examples of disappointing sequels. For years I actually said that At World's End was better than Dead Man's Chest, but rewatching them, no, it's not. This movie apparently went into production before they finished a script, and you can tell, because so much of this movie does not flow together. It's just a bunch of scenes put together that I guess you can kind of make up sense, but there's a lot of backstabbing, a lot of characters going to places and then coming back and then going to other places, and some of the characters feel like they're just given motivations and things for the hell of it. The last movie, they wanted to save Jack because they liked him, they wanted to save him. In this one, it's for some pirate code thing. And it also just gets weird, and the weirdness feels like it's there just to move the plot along. Like, we need to get the pearl to the ocean, but it's on sand. What do? I don't know. The rocks start moving, they turn into the crabs and take the pearl to the ocean. There, we fixed it. Bravo. It's so long. You could easily cut out 20 to 30 minutes of this. In fact, rewatching it, you really could cut out everything with Xiao Yun-Fat's character. Like, just start out saying they got a crew together and are sailing to World's End. I would have bought it. We didn't need to see him get the crew. And you really don't even need to make Elizabeth a captain. So even that feels pointless. This feels like one of those movies where every scene taken on its own is pretty cool, but you put them together, they don't really flow. But with that said, a lot of the scenes are really good. I love the part where Elizabeth finds out her dad's dead. Keira Knightley's performance is really good there. She sounds heartbroken.
No, you can't be.
I'm so proud of you, Elizabeth.
Take the line!
I love the part where they rock the boat back and forth. The ending is a lot of fun. It does have a lot of really great scenes. It was the most expensive movie ever made at the time, and you could see the money on screen, although again, it's so dark. There's so little color. I remember like an hour and a half in, they're arriving at this island and it's like green and stuff, and I'm like, holy shit, color. But yes, this is a movie mostly saved by the direction and the acting. And because of that, I still have a soft spot for it. I know this movie is kind of a joke in some areas, where it's used as the go-to example of the bloated, disappointing sequel, and they're kind of right, but it does still have a lot of fun moments. Alright, if you're too young to remember, I can't really describe the post-hype for this movie. The pre-hype was pretty big too, but I mean after it came out, this was like the only movie people were talking about. And I mean everyone. I was in high school when this came out and all the kids were talking about it. I remember them watching clips of it on their phones. I felt so out of the loop because I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't see it till months later. So when I finally sat down to watch it, I thought it was pretty good. And what, now 17 years later, I think it's really good. This is a really good movie. Honestly, I've been taking notes on these, and this, I didn't really take many because I just was getting invested in the movie. This is a very entertaining movie, much better than Batman Begins. The action is so much better, the editing is so much better. I didn't realize how quick this movie is with its editing. When you really think about how much this stuff does in just 2.5 hours, it's kind of incredible. It's also funny. Like, the Joker is legitimately funny.
Let her go. Very poor choice of words.
This is a good movie, but the Joker is what elevates it to greatness. Although, let's be honest here, a lot of it's luck. Every single time, this plan of the Joker's could have gone wrong. I still think the mob guy should have just shot him the second he killed one of his henchmen with a pencil. And everything else is just like, okay, good thing that happened at that exact moment. I think that's probably my biggest problem with it. There's nitpicks I have, but that there, just how convenient it is with the Joker's plan. And then of course there's the ending, which I still don't get why they're trying to protect Harvey's reputation. Yeah, I get it. Gotham needs a hero, but like, I don't know, you could have just lied and said the Joker killed those people. You didn't have to say it was Batman. Also, this movie does feel like a Bush era film. Like, you can tell why it was like so loved at the time, whereas a lot of its imitators that did similar things after the Bush years really didn't. I still do think this is a really good movie, but I think people who do not remember that era of politics might not like it as much. But it is a really good movie. I do think it is great, and while I probably will never get over how hyped it was, that doesn't stop it from being one of the best comic book movies of the 21st century. I did a review for this a few years ago, and my opinion really hasn't changed that much. Avatar is a perfectly fine movie that, yes, is cliche as hell, but everyone knows it. Everyone just wants to see the pretty effects. It knows exactly what it is. It's not one I go back to a lot, but I will always respect it for at least bringing back color to movies. Especially after the last three, it was so nice to see a movie with, like, blues and greens. And that's all I got.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Hey, did you guys know that this movie is officially as old as the first movie was when this film came out? Hell, we're only a few years away from people who were actually born the summer this movie came out being able to graduate high school and go to college like Andy is. This movie is still fantastic. And yes, I'm still crying if you can't tell. I thought since we've gotten more Toy Story content, I wouldn't cry as much, but nope. It really is just that good. Everyone brings up the ending, but honestly, it's pretty emotional from the start. I was already starting to get tears at the beginning when they're trying to get Andy to play with them a little bit, when they say that a bunch of old toys got sold or given away. Like, it is a very emotional movie. It has some good comedy. I don't think it's as funny as the second film or the fourth film. Oddly, the first and third are my favorites of the four, and yet they're the ones I find the least funny. It has some good jokes, but it's not a laugh riot. The animation is still beautiful. I mean, this movie's going on 15 years, and it's amazing to look at. All the voice actors do good. I think the only one who had to be replaced was Slinky Dog, but everyone else returned. I think even the kid who played Andy came back. The new characters are really fun too. It does have the surprise villain, but it's one of Disney's better ones of that time period. And it's a pretty suspenseful movie. It's a pretty solid prison escape film, and also, how the hell did this get a G rating? This came out the same year as Tangled, Megamind, and Despicable Me. All those were rated PG. This is way more intense. If I do have one nitpick, this is the only Toy Story movie to bring up the concept of security cameras. I'm willing to ignore it enough in the other ones, but when you bring up that security cameras exist and these toys are just walking around, someone's gonna notice. Though to be fair, they really aren't very good at keeping this thing a secret. But yeah, this movie is still a great film. It's a great sequel. One of my favorite Pixar movies. I love it. It's great. And goddamn, I can't believe I cried again. You know, if I'm doing my math correct, then Harry at the end of this movie would be 36 years old, which by the time you're watching this, that's how old Daniel Radcliffe will be. They totally nailed it, didn't they? This movie is great. I actually was surprised how emotional parts of it were. Like, I always remember crying at the epilogue, but I was tearing up at certain parts of this just in the middle. In fact, there's one part that isn't in the book that I'm really glad they added in, where when Harry realizes he has to sacrifice himself, he comes across Ron and Hermione and just lets them know this has to be done.
I'll go with you.
Now, kill the snake. Kill the snake and then it's just him.
In the book, that doesn't happen, but I really like that they added that. The three trios performance in that scene is fantastic, especially Daniel Radcliffe. When he comes out of that Pensieve and realizes, oh my god, I have to die, it is legitimately heartbreaking. With no words, he gives off this performance of like, oh my god, it's over. I have no choice now. In fact, the acting in the whole movie is really good. Everyone's reactions to the deaths, the tragedy. One part I really love is when Harry is revealed to still be alive. It shows people's reaction, and everyone gives kind of a different reaction that works for that character. Hermione is super excited, Ron seems kind of dumbfounded. It sticks pretty true to the book. There are a few changes, some I liked, some I was a little mixed on. I do like that they destroyed the Elder Wand. In the book, he just sort of puts it with Dumbledore's portrait, and it's like, well, once Harry dies, the wand's allegiance will never go to another wizard, and it's like, well, he becomes an Auror when he grows up, so there's not an insignificant chance he'll be killed by another wizard. So yeah, just breaking that damn thing in half is a little more logical. I still think Voldemort's death should have been more mundane. Having him just disintegrate into, like, burnt paper is like, I get what they're going for. Like, he literally just ripped his soul into, like, 8 or 9 pieces. But I like that in the book he just dies. His body falls to the ground, and it's like, yeah, he was a powerful wizard, but in the end, he was still just a man. It does a good job in being an actual movie. Like, it sticks pretty true, but it does show different things that you can't get in a book. Like, at the very beginning, it shows that, yeah, Hogwarts kinda sucks now. And I'm glad it showed that Griphook died. In the book, it's kind of vague, but in the movie, it's like, no, he died, and frankly, that bastard deserved it. Oh, we saved you from the Malfoys? Here, I'll reward you by locking you in this vault so you can be crushed by gold. It does have to do that thing a lot of the movies did, especially as it went on, where they have to play catch up because they left things out of earlier movies that they didn't know would be important, like that mirror. One thing I like about these movies, and the books too, is that it shows that even the good wizard side has a bit of darkness to it. Like, there's the whole thing with house elves, but they also, like, torture a dragon so it expects pain when it hears a bell. Like, Hermione's even like, that's barbaric. And it's like, yeah, even the good guys can do some really terrible things. The action is fun, though it does have a bit of a Return of the King vibe. I think they destroy every single piece of jewelry except a ring, but in the end, it does give you just this sense of just relief. Like, wow, we went through 10 years with things continuously just getting worse and worse, and then it's like, okay, we can breathe. Again, these movies aren't perfect, I will admit that, but I am still glad that I got to grow up with them. I know they're planning another thing, a new TV series. Maybe it'll be great, but even if it's amazing, the movie series will always hold a special place in my heart. This movie is so much fun. It is the pure definition of a purely fun superhero movie. Not to say it's completely devoid of any emotion or character development. In fact, I was actually surprised how limited the action was for like the first half. It has that big opening action scene, and then it's actually pretty dialogue heavy until about the 20-30 minute mark. And it's mostly a lot of like minor action scenes until we get to the big final climax. It does have a lot of talking. It does have a lot of emotional moments, like with one of the characters dies. It does bring up questions of morality occasionally. But for the most part, this movie is just a blast. I've said it before, but this movie actually made me feel like a kid again. I was spending half the movie imagining myself in the film, fighting alongside them. Seeing all these differing personalities clash not only creates tension, but good comedy. Tony Stark, who's just a sarcastic wise ass. The good-hearted Steve Rogers. Thor, who's a little serious and jokey at the same time. Loki is an amazing villain. He checks off the checklist of funny, intimidating, and charismatic. Like, he's fun. You like watching him, but you also want to see him defeated. And how he's defeated, it's still one of the funniest scenes in any movie of the past like 20 years. Thing is, when this movie came out, I wasn't super extraordinarily hyped for it. The trailer got me interested, but I didn't love any of the movies before this. But when I saw this movie, I was like, I freaking love this film. And I still do. It's been 13 years now. This movie is old enough to go see itself in the theater. And while yes, future movies would get a little more deep, for lack of a better word, this is still my favorite because it gave me that sense of awe again.
Hang in there, guys!
I remember when I first saw this, it was around the time when the hype was just starting to build. Like, it was doing well. I remember one of my friends was raving about the soundtrack, but I think it was still seen as just a pretty good Disney movie alongside the same vein as Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph. But then it just blew up, and like, by the time we got into mid-2014, it still wouldn't leave. I actually don't remember hearing Let It Go a lot during that time, but a lot of other people did. It was peaking on like the Billboard Hot 100. Like, it was that big. So of course then it got this massive backlash. I always thought this movie was pretty good, and I still think that. Remember when I said about Beauty and the Beast and how there are musicals and then musicals? It's hard to explain, it's just kind of a vibe. But whereas something like Lion King and Moana I'd describe as musicals, this and Beauty and the Beast are musicals. And I just tend to prefer musicals over musicals. That said, I do like this movie. Ever since I first saw it, I've said, good songs, likable story, fun characters. It's good. It actually does things that normally would annoy me, but I actually let slide. Like, I should hate Olaf. He should annoy the shit out of me, yet he really doesn't. I shouldn't like the fact that it technically does the comeback from the dead cliche, but it kind of works. It was one of the earlier of the twist villains that Disney would do for like half a decade, but this is one of the better ones because you can see some foreshadowing with it. It's got a good message about not just immediately falling in love with someone you just met. I like the relationships between the characters of like Elsa and Anna and Kristoff. I actually really love the stuff between Kristoff and Sven. Like, that is a bromance for the ages. And yeah, it's nice that this movie doesn't cop out by having Kristoff and Anna actually just kiss or get together at the end. It's gorgeous. Like, there's a lot of just whiteness in this, but it makes winter look beautiful. And yeah, most of the songs are pretty good. Let It Go, despite being overplayed, I do enjoy it. I like Love is an Open Door. Even Olaf's song has its charms. For me, my only problem is, like, after Let It Go, but before they get back to Arendelle, I think is just okay. Like, honestly, I forgot some stuff happened in it. It's like, all right, the trolls have a song. And I also just completely forgot that Hans captured Elsa. And I've seen this movie more than once. So yeah, I like Frozen. It's not one I like became obsessed with like some of my friends or a lot of people did at the time. I'm not gonna say it's bad just because it got a little overhyped. And yeah, I like the sequel too. So thumbs up for me. I was pretty much the perfect age when the first Transformers movie came out, but by the time this one did, I really didn't care all that much. That said, I think the movie is alright. I actually like it more than Armageddon and Mission Impossible 2. The characters are okay, it has some fun action, it has some decent laughs, and nothing about it really annoys me. It really only has one problem. It's too goddamn long. It clocks in at about 2 hours and 45 minutes. If this thing was 2 hours, I'd say it was a pretty damn good guilty pleasure. As is, it's watchable, but I would just keep checking the time, thinking we were closer to the end than we were. I check, oh, we're only halfway through. Check again, still got an hour left. Check again, still got a half hour left. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, it just kept getting shorter. My patience was running out. Here's the thing, all they had to do was just take out the stuff with Stanley Tucci and Kelsey Grammer. Everything with the military, all that bullshit, and just make it about this group, Mark Wahlberg, his daughter, her boyfriend, meeting up with the Autobots, and they try to stop the Decepticons from, like, bringing Megatron back. I don't know how they do it. I would have bought it. And they team up with the Autobots to stop the Decepticons. That's really all this movie needed. Instead, it has Stanley Tucci being evil business guy, and then he's a good guy at the end. We spend a freaking like 40 minutes with TJ Miller as part of the main cast, and then he is, spoilers, ruthlessly killed. Like, I'll give credit, that was a pretty hard PG-13 death. But besides its excruciating length, it's just another Michael Bay Transformers movie. You know what you're getting. I forgot that Nicola Peltz played Mark Wahlberg's daughter in this. Just 4 years after Last Airbender, she's in another Razzie-winning movie. Yeah, Michael Bay won Worst Director for this, and no. Comparing him to Darren Doan for Saving Christmas and Rennie Harlan for Legend of Hercules, you try to convince me that this is worse directed than those, I will laugh. Also, her boyfriend, I'm like, why does he look so familiar? I looked it up. It's Christian from Midsommar. But yeah, I know this movie's hated, like most of the Transformers movies. I don't know, I can't get that angry at it. Besides its length, it's just a movie that entertained me enough, but I'm not really gonna remember, and if it weren't for this, I never would have watched it again, and I don't plan to in the future. You know, this movie's 10 years old, meaning it's now officially as old as Revenge of the Sith was when this movie came out. That doesn't seem possible. Like, the span from 05 to 2015 felt so long, but 2015 to 2025 feels so short. Anyway, so I've talked about this before, so I'll keep it brief. I do really enjoy this movie. Is it perfect? No. It does take a lot of inspiration from episode 4. You could even say it kind of is just a rehash. But it does it well. And in fact, I've actually kind of given it a little bit more of a pass because, as history has shown, it often repeats itself. In fact, it's kind of interesting that in the last decade, we have gotten to live through all 3 Star Wars trilogies. Like, seriously, the prequels were basically the end of Obama years and the rise of Trump, and then it seems we defeat him, everything's good, but then we don't fix the problems, and somehow Trump returns. For me, what I like about the movie is that it's a fun adventure, featuring a lot of characters that I really liked. I really liked Rey and Finn and BB-8 and Kylo Ren. Like, we do see Han and Leia and Chewie, but honestly, I didn't need them. If this movie didn't feature them, I totally would have been fine. Hey, remember when people complained that Rey was a Mary Sue? Like, how that was like this big thing everyone was talking about? You know, everyone's stuck on those 2 things, where I do think there are legitimate criticisms you could make. They don't ruin it for me, but I can see you making it. Like, there are some contrivances. It does have a few boring bits. Poe dying and then coming back felt stupid. So there were things people could legitimately complain about. They just focused on, like, it's a rehash and Rey's a Mary Sue. But yeah, this is just a very fun movie. Maybe played it a little too safe, but at the time, that was okay. Captain America Civil War is awesome. Next. Alright, this is probably mostly just going to be talking about the reaction to the movie than the movie itself. I've talked about it plenty of times before. When I saw this in the theater, I was so invested that when I thought it was nearing the end and realized there was still like 30 to 40 minutes left, I actually got excited. And remember, because of my work schedule, it's getting pretty late for me. I saw this early in the morning, which is late at night for me. So the fact that I was so invested that I was willing to stay in that theater for another half hour, 45, even an hour, I'm like, okay, I love this movie. Now, admittedly, it does have a few more boring parts rewatching, especially when you realize that Finn and Rose's subplot is completely pointless, which when you first see it is kind of cool and subversive, but then rewatching it, it's like, well, this was already one of the weaker parts of the movie the first time, and now it's like, why? I know this is going to lead to nothing. Besides that, the only real issue I have is some of the dialogue is a bit off. Especially Finn's lines. Like, I just don't feel right hearing the words like bastard and chrome dome in a Star Wars movie. But of course, that's not the stuff that people who just despised this movie cared about. They cared about Luke being out of character. They cared about Vice Admiral Hodo being right about things. They cared about an Asian woman who wasn't absolutely gorgeous being a main character who does stuff. Look, I don't think if you dislike this movie that you're automatically a racist or sexist or can't handle change. There are definitely people who are, but I think there are people out there who just don't like it because they found it boring or it wasn't what they expected. And like I said, there are things I don't think quite work about it. But the fact that there are still people just going on about this movie. Like, I swear, last year, in the year of our Lord, 2024, I saw a tweet going like, I remember when I first saw The Last Jedi in theaters, my family took me to see it. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And I'm like, dude, you are one privileged motherfucker of going to see a movie that you didn't like is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. But I guess it speaks volumes that this movie is still talked about in a way that Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker really aren't. People either like or dislike them and they move on, but Last Jedi just hits a chord in both a positive and negative ways. And I'll also add that there are people who love this movie that annoy me. Like, there's just something about, like, people who love it for reasons that just seem like they're just saying, yeah, fuck you if you don't like this, you're a bad person. And some of their fan theories just kind of pissed me off. Like, I remember when it came out, people were saying that Leia and especially Holdo were like a metaphor for Hillary Clinton, whereas Poe is a metaphor for the Bernie Bros and being like, yeah, let's get into this, let's change the system. And then here's Clinton saying, no, let's calm down, boys. Let's not rush into things. Now, I doubt that's what Rian Johnson intended. I think this movie was well into production by the time Trump won. But yeah, there is this arrogant, like, liberal, I'm with her bullshit to some of what they said. And there's even annoying leftists about this shit. And it's like, at this point, I honestly don't even care. Last Jedi is just a very good Star Wars movie. What the hell else do I say about this? I still remember being in the theater and all throughout the credits, the audience was dead silent. It was just like, wow, I can't believe that actually is how it ends. Like, obviously in the back of my head, I know, okay, there's gonna be another one. They're probably not going to keep everyone dead, but holy shit. Thanos is an amazing villain. He's not only a threat, but I do get it. This movie manages to get characters from various types of movies with varying types of tones and all come together in a way that feels right. Captain America has a very different tone from Thor. Thor has a very different tone from Iron Man. Iron Man has a very different feel to Guardians of the Galaxy. And it all fits. They all feel like they belong in this world. Although I do love the idea of someone who, like, just loves Captain America, and those are the only movies he tries to see are the ones with Captain America in them. So he's seen those movies and the Avengers movies, and they get to this and they're like, why is there a talking raccoon and tree in this? All of the acting is good, but Chris Hemsworth is phenomenal. When he's talking to Rocket about everything that's gone on in his life, he sounds like somebody who has lost everyone and yet is trying to keep it together. And yet everything else is great. The action is great. It surprisingly does not feel that long. It's about 2.5 hours. I guess maybe they could have like edited together some stuff, like we'll spend a long time away from someone. But that's really the only minor nitpick I have. This movie is still fantastic. So I ended up taking no notes for this movie. I think that about sums it up. This was one of the most crowd-pleasing movies I've ever seen. And yes, I did tear up near the end. Seems to be happening quite a bit in this marathon. Besides a few nitpicks, like few inopportune comedy moments, I really have nothing to complain about. Well, the MCU is still going on, and there's been some really great movies. I don't think it'll ever fully capture what happened in the 2010s. And man, I'm really glad I got to experience that. I really want to go back to like 2015 or 16 and show someone the highest grossing films of 2019 and then 2020. First, we'd have a year filled with like American sequels and remakes. And then the next year, the top 10, it has like 4 American movies, 3 were released before March, and the rest is all Asian films, with the highest grossing movie being an anime film called Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie Mugen Train. And with absolutely no other context, that person will be like, what the fuck happens in the year 2020? So yeah, this one is the 5th and final film that I had never seen before, for pretty obvious reasons. I don't know that much about anime, especially TV anime. Most of my anime knowledge actually comes from American cartoons that took inspiration from anime, like Avatar and Teen Titans. Besides that, there are a few shows I watched, and also hearing the Hero of Tomorrow talk about some, and that's about it. With that said, this was pretty good. It lets you know pretty quickly what you're in for. Like, one of the first things we see is one of the main characters has a boar for a head. I'm like, okay. Then they get on a train and fight this guy with, like, fire hair who just continuously yells tasty every time he takes a bite of food, and I'm like, okay. Then there's like a hand with a mouth on it that belongs to some guy who can put people to sleep, and I'm like, okay. It certainly has a very bizarre sense of humor, just as I expected from something like this. Without even having seen the show, I got the gist of it. There's one of them who has dead family, one of them's kind of cowardly, one of them's really beastly and wants to fight everything. Also pretty stupid. They're demon slayers, they're looking for someone to train them, and they find one on a train, and then it kind of turns into Inception a little bit. Okay? I have no idea how to sum up this movie. I'll say this, the action scenes are great. Every punch, every slice with a sword feels brutal. And there are times he has emotional moments, like the main character, I assume the main character, his family was murdered and he's coming to grips with that, and someone does die at the end of the movie. I won't spoil it. And they really do hold on it. They stretch out the emotion parts. I really only have about 3 issues. One, that guy with the boar head, his voice was really annoying. Come on, we gotta go. Stop crying. Also, like, half the characters have narration or like monologues in their head. I feel that was mostly put in just to catch people who haven't seen the show up, which I guess I appreciated, but then, like, one of the villains will have one just to say, oh, I gotta stay away from the sun. And it's like, I think I could have gotten that. And also, like, I thought the movie was wrapping up because it seemed like it was almost over, and then I look and it's like, there's still 36 minutes left. I'm like, what? And it's like, oh, we have another villain we haven't seen before. And I'm like, okay, fine. And that's really the only issues I had. This was a pretty fun movie. I can see why this was the biggest film of the year. Yes, obviously, because COVID didn't allow many people to go see movies, and Japan did better at stopping the spread than us, so they were able to go to the theater more often. But in a year where we just needed some levity and fun, this gave you that. This is the best theatrical experience I've ever had. I can still remember going there, opening night, and not only was the movie great, but the audience was perfect. They cheered and laughed at exactly the right moments. And because it had a lot of fan service, there was a small backlash from people being like, oh, people just like it because of nostalgia. Everyone just loves their slop, or whatever the hell the Zoomer leftists are saying. No, this movie, even if you took all the old characters out of it, would still be a really good Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. I probably wouldn't have loved it as much, but I still would have liked it about as much as the other two, because the action is great, and I was interested in the characters. I felt bad for them when they couldn't get in any colleges. I like Peter and MJ's romance. I like seeing them together. It's still a really good movie. You know, I've always wondered, like, why doesn't Peter just tell people he's Spider-Man? It seems like it'd be pretty awesome, and well, this movie shows why. It's a terrible curse. And in fact, like, the first half hour is actually kind of depressing. It's just the characters being miserable. Once characters from the older movies come in, it is legitimately fun, and I like that Peter is trying to help. He believes that everyone can be helped and everyone deserves second chances, and he does try, and it is with good intentions, but a lot of bad things happen, and yeah, it's kind of his fault, even if he did have good intentions, and at the end of the movie, he has to pay the consequences. Although I'm sure when the next one comes out, many of those consequences will be retconned. I don't think I need to worry about spoilers. Pretty much everyone knows all of the old characters who are in this. But yes, when Andrew Garfield pops through and takes off that mask, the entire theater applauded, and I just sat there with this big grin on my face like, yes, because there were rumors that they would be in it, but it wasn't confirmed. And then Tobey Maguire comes in, same thing happened. This movie actually made William Dafoe's Green Goblin creepy. I have made fun of that fucking costume for years, and just getting rid of it and letting him just act all creepy and shit is so much better. In fact, one thing this movie kind of did is it made everyone appreciate the older movies more. Since this movie came out, people have looked more fondly back on even the more disliked ones. Like, I've seen more appreciation for Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I've even grown to like the first movie a little more. I rewatched it and it's like, it's mostly the stuff in the second half I have problems with, but I do like a lot more of it. So yeah, this movie is great. There are some tonal shifts, like the big crowd-pleasing Garfield and Maguire show up right after Aunt May's death, which is goddamn heartbreaking, so kind of a tonal shift there. And there are some, what I'm just gonna call sitcom jokes, where they put in a lot of dead air because they're just expecting a big audience to roar with laughter, which in the theater is great, but watching it at home, where you just kind of give a light chuckle and then there's like 2 or 3 seconds of dead space. But besides that, no, I still think this movie is great. Okay, this is my first time seeing this since the theater, and I really don't have too much to add that I didn't already say in that review from a couple years ago. I like the first act. I was surprised how much I liked the Sully family. I respect that they bring Courage back just in the most contrived way possible. Once they get to the Water Tribe, that's when the movie gets really good. I loved everything in that, especially seeing it in 3D. It was so gorgeous, just beautiful. And I also just like seeing how this water tribe works, how they get around, how they hunt, how they communicate with nature. It was like legitimately interesting. I even kind of liked Courage bonding with Spider and him teaching him more about the Na'vi. Where it kind of loses me is the last act, which wouldn't be too bad, but unfortunately the last act is like an hour long. And the thing is, there's a lot of good stuff in it. The action's really good. It has some interesting stuff with the characters. It kills someone off who I didn't expect. But it's mostly just the same shit we saw in the first one, except now it's about whalers. They're whales. I know they have a name, but they're whales. This movie is long. It's 3 goddamn hours. And by the time we get to like 2.5, I'm like, alright movie, can we wrap this up? Usually when I hear someone say they don't like this movie, it's because of its just incredible length. And also, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy nut, but I think in the same way the first movie like made it so every film for the next like 3, 4, 5 years had to have like 3D shoehorned in, usually badly. Like, this film has made a lot of movies that have come out in the years since be unnecessarily long. Maybe not quite to the extent, but goddamn, movies just feel longer now. But yeah, a good first act, a great second act, a meh third act. I do think this is better than the first movie. What will the third movie entail? We'll just have to wait and see.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
I knew this movie was gonna be a hit, but I didn't expect it to be this big. Yeah, the whole Barbenheimer thing was going on, but Oppenheimer, while still a hit, made like 500 million less than this movie. So there were a lot of people who either only saw that one or went to see this multiple times. This is my first time seeing this since theaters, and one thing I noticed in this viewing is I was laughing a lot more. Not to say I didn't laugh in the theater, but it was was more sparse. Like, every once in a while I'd chuckle. But this time, not only was I chuckling a lot more, but there were even a few, like, really big laughs. And I think the reason is that maybe when I saw it in theaters, I was a little hesitant, a little worried that something might go wrong, because if you've been paying attention, especially to my like end of the year list, I have been burned by several bad feminist movies over the last few years. Yes, there were some good ones like Promising Young Woman and Moxie, but there's this specific kind of like Tumblr, Reddit-esque feminism in these kinds of movies that use the word patriarchy like a comma, and it did seem, especially in the second act, that might be where this movie is going. But thankfully it stick the landing. So on a second viewing, I was able to relax a little bit more and appreciate its campiness and humor. So I didn't really see many trailers before this because I like to avoid trailers if I can help it. So I was expecting like a more grounded version of the movie we got. I was expecting a cartoon world to enter the real world, like our world. Instead, what I got was a cartoony world entering a slightly less cartoony world. I forgot David Heyman produced this. If you don't know who he is not only the reason both the Harry Potter and Paddington movies exist, but that they're as good as they are. The production design in this movie is fantastic. Barbie World obviously looks fake, but it looks like you could live there. It looks good. It looks real. It creates an identity. I like the relationship between Sasha and her mom. Barbie's existential crisis is good, but of course, being a man, I mostly related to Ken, and that's what I really appreciate about this movie. It has something for men and women. I know some women who got really invested into Barbie's story, enough that they were crying. And yeah, I did kind of connect to Ken at the end where it's like, it's Barbie and Ken. I don't know what I am without you. And it's like, yeah, growing up as a guy, you see yourself as like, you have to get a girlfriend, you have to get a wife. Also, I love his song. Fuck that Billie Eilish one. I'm Just Ken should have won the Oscar. There are some annoying flaws, like some of the jokes are just dumb and go on too long. Like that beat you off joke that wasn't funny and then they just keep doing it. Also, I wish there was a little bit of subtlety. Like a perfect example, when she goes to Mattel and there's that boardroom there and it's all men. And it's like, okay, I get it. I get it. Most people will get it. But then later on she's like, why are there no women working here? And it's like, thanks, you just spelled it out for me. And this technically isn't a problem with the movie, it's just the internet. I actually laughed at the I am Knuff shirt in the movie theater, but in the couple of years since, the internet has driven that so far into the goddamn ground that I kind of groan when I hear it now. But other than that, I'd actually say I like this more than when I first saw it. You know, it's weird. I didn't actually cry when I saw this in the theater, but I did cry this time. That rarely ever happens. Inside Out 2 is an amazing sequel to an already amazing movie. I've said it plenty of times before. The first film is like a movie that hit me at just the right moment. It was a movie I needed at that exact moment I saw it. I wouldn't say this movie was that. It's more a general thing. When the first movie came out, I remember a lot of people saying like, hey, which of these emotions is the one that's controlling the panel in your head? And I really didn't think one of those fit for me. But with this one, I can tell you, anxiety is the one controlling everything up here. And I loved her, and again, I'm glad it didn't make her a villain. She cares so much. But just like Joy in the first movie, that caring can sometimes hurt. And the other new emotions are great. Ennui is hilarious. Embarrassment is just so... I just felt so bad for him. Envy, when I first saw the movie, I thought was kind of boring, but in this one, I'm like, alright, I get a little bit more with her. This is a sequel that does exactly what a great sequel should. It grows. Just like Riley is growing up. And when you're growing up, the emotions become bigger and more complex. And, as we learned in the first movie, all emotions have their place. Most people don't think things like sadness or anxiety are good. But no, sadness helps us grieve. It helps us us move on. It helps connect us to people. Anxiety helps us plan for the future. It helps keep us on our toes so we don't become stagnant or forget things. There's little details in this movie that I kind of like that during some parts you can see anxiety shaking even before like things really start to get bad. Like it just looks like she's shaking a little bit. And that part in the beginning where they're like, why is Family Island so small? And it's like, yeah, when you're a teenager, family goes on the back burner. Of course, that part where Joy snaps, I related to a lot.
Of course I'm delusional! Do you know how hard it is to stay positive all the time when all you folks do is complain, complain, complain?
And I love the thing about how emotions shape your beliefs. And every human being is a very complex person, sometimes full of contradictions. You can be very honest, and you can also lie. It's not all black and white. Also, it's hilarious. There are parts of this movie where I was just howling with laughter. I already love this movie, but watching it again, I think I even liked it a bit more. And we have reached the end. I started this in the first weekend of January. It's now the last weekend of June. I don't think I lost much weight, so that's gonna be a second half of the year thing. But anyway, what have I learned? Well, a lot of these movies are really good. Yeah, there's a reason they were the highest grossing movies of the year. I think out of all of them, there were like 4, 5 maybe I didn't care for. Like Out of Africa and Armageddon I'd say were the worst, with stuff like Mission Impossible 2 and Age of Extinction just kind of being meh. But you can also see certain trends pop up. In the 70s it seemed to be very director-driven movies. In the 80s, it was a lot of comedies with Beverly Hills Cop, 3 Men and a Baby, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. 90s started with like a lot of Disney animated features and then became a lot of disaster movies. After 9/11, we got a bunch of fantasy movies. The 2010s were filled with a lot of Star Wars and Marvel. And in a post-COVID world, it seems we're looking for more spectacle. We want a reason to go to the theater. So instead of doing a list of like my favorites from 10 to 1, how about I break it up into 10 5-year spans and then give you my favorites of those. So, from 75 to 79, Star Wars. 80 to 84, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. 85 to 89, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. 90 to 94, Jurassic Park. 95 to 99, Independence Day. 2000 to 04, Return of the King. 05 to 09, The Dark Knight. 2010 to 14, The Avengers. 2015 to 19, Avengers Endgame. And 2020 to 24, Inside Out 2. Well, I hope you enjoyed what will likely be my longest video to date. I've already started editing it, and I'm pretty sure this is going to officially kill my editing laptop. Bye. Kyle, I don't know what you're going through right now, but I've just been through probably the worst week of the year. My foot has been hurting. It's probably an infection. You've had to take these fucking things. So, yeah, let's just fucking shit. It's gotten a little better. I hope it gets better over the next couple days.